Hi, Chad Blake here, coming to you from the south of France at Studio La Fabrique, where we're just finishing up a week-long seminar. We've had lots of good questions, and we've been doing lots of good things at the desk and out in the room recording. They've asked me to answer some questions from people outside of the studio, so we're going to take a few questions and see if we can answer them now. The first one's from AJ Steele. Hi Chad, I hope you're well. Just wondering if you have any tips or philosophies for managing the mid-range in a mix. Well, it's just really EQ. I do use compression. I think it's hard to separate the frequencies just managing mid-range. I don't know how to answer that. It also has a lot to do with the frequencies around it and how you manage those, how your mid-range comes out. So it's all inclusive, really. I twiddle knobs until it sounds good. It's what I've always done, and I still do that in the box. I hope that can help. Here's another one. Roman English. Hi Chad, thank you for so many inspirational records you made. One of the things I really admire in your mixes is the very organic blend of natural spaces and reverbs. Can you elaborate on your reverb techniques, your usage of nonlinear reverbs? Can you talk a little about vocals on Mute Math, Odd Souls record? Sits so well in a mix and has incredible spread. Also, how do you make instruments sound present without making them sound bright? Okay, first part, organic blend of natural spaces and reverbs. I think I don't use anything organic, actually. I'm using a lot of just readily available plugins. I use, what's the DigiDesign one? I always forget the name of it, but it just comes with DigiDesign. And I use Altiverb and Speakerphone, Valhalla reverbs, but probably the thing that I do that's common to all that may be making them appear to be more organic is I do a lot of high-low pass on my reverbs. I don't like my reverbs to be bright, even if the instrument's bright. I like them to come back sort of lower mids and fuller. So maybe that's what you're hearing. Can you talk a little about vocals on Mute Math Odd Souls record? Sits so well in a mix and has incredible spread. I don't remember specifically what I did on that record. If there's a spread on it, it could be, I probably put like a small room. One of my favorite things in Altiverb is Call's Living Room. And it's, you can make it very, very short and just take off all the top end, and it just has this wonderful warmth to it. And it will have quite a nice spread. So there you go. Also, how do you make instruments sound present without making them sound bright? Again, that's sort of like the previous question. I brighten instruments. I do often carve a little out in the edgy areas, maybe 3, 5K. I'll sometimes take a dB or 2 or 4, 6, whatever it takes, and then add it in just on top if I want it to be brighter without being edgy. Sometimes just playing with the curve button, shelving or peaking, will change how edgy it is, even just using the EQ for brightness. So I'd experiment with that. Different compressors. If something is jumping out and places have too much edge, I'll choose a plugin that has a duller curve to it, just naturally, like the Bomb Factory 660, I think is quite soft sounding compared to the 1176, so I'll choose my compressors accordingly. Anthony Gibney. Hi Chad, your drums always sound amazing. What is your approach to handling the high frequency content and also the extra harmonics added by distortion of the drums, as they are bright but never fatiguing? Is it some sort of multi-band compression? There is a multi-band compressor on my drum bus, but it's not doing any compressing or limiting. I'm using that. I like the EQs, and it once in a while I'll get the compression going. But I think it's, again, it's that thing of spreading your frequencies out, making sure, things can sound really fatiguing if you don't have any low end. If you can take a drum kit that has no low end, it's all mid-range, and it may not be a very good sounding recording, but if you just get the bottom right, add a sample, like a nice round kick drum, and all of a sudden the rest of the drums start sounding like they're way closer, just with that one thing. So I think that's real important, to be listening to the full range and not focusing on this one thing. It seems to be a few questions here focusing on mid-range or top end. It's the whole picture. Once you get it top to bottom, then maybe that edge won't be quite so bad. Michelle Lynn, The Earth Died Screaming, it's going back a ways, by Tom Waits, is an incredible sounding song, so much going on and extremely powerful. Is it true that portions of that track were recorded outdoors, and if so, where? What special techniques, effects were used in the process to create such a dynamic sounding piece? I think that the dynamics come from arrangement, and that's Tom. He's pretty good with that. And as far as techniques, outdoors. Right. There was stuff. Tom wanted the wood clacking. He wanted it to sound like a historical archive record, like a world music record, Smithsonian or something, of records of tribes of Africa, drums, and so I had done a few things like that and knew that it needed to be done outside. So we moved just doing those sticks outside instead of in this big room. So the sound just goes off. There's just no reverberation. Maybe a little bit of delay from a tree or the ground. I think there was about 6 or 7 people all playing these 2x4s, hitting them on the ground. It was just one mic above them. I think we doubled it, might have even tripled it. Where? It was just outside the studio up in Northern California where we did that record. William Bowser. Hey Chad, I've been waiting for a long time to ask you about your in-the-box setup. So what is on your mix bus when mixing, and what are your go-to plugins for mixing vocals? On the mix bus, I've got a lot of stuff. It's more than I would have ever done in the analog world. In the analog world, I just had an Al Smart, the SSL copy compressor across the bus. I never EQ'd in the analog world. In the box, I'm trying to get saturation. I'm not trying to make it sound like tape. I'm just trying to make it sound good to me. So I use a lot of saturators. Almost everything I have on my stereo bus is some form of compression. I've got, it starts off with a Slate VTM, which is the virtual tape machine. This is what I'm using now, by the way. It changes up. Slate VTM, Crane Song Phoenix, which is set to dark luster on the bright setting. I can't remember what it is. It's the middle. And then I've got an EMI 124. I can't remember the name. I can't remember the number, but it's like a 4-band EQ EMI plugin. And then I've got the ML4000 and a inflator, the Oxford inflator. That's on my mix bus. So you can see it's just a lot of compression. None of them are doing a lot. They're all just doing very little, but it sums up to sound like a lot. What are your go-to plugins when mixing vocals? My vocal chain has I start with there's a decapitator on there, which I use for coloration, not necessarily distortion or decapitation, just I can play with the color. I've got another one of those EMI EQs. I should find out, I should remember the number, but it starts with a 124. That's what I know that much. And I usually start with an L1, a Waves L1 limiter on there, and sometimes I use the Arvox. Sometimes I use the Bomb Factory Fairchild 660. Sometimes I use the Bomb Factory LA3A or 1176. It can change. The vocals change a lot. I also have often used the Oxford compressor that has the warmth feature on it. Don't know the number, but it has a really nice feature on it. You put warmth in and turn that up, and it really gives you a nice chestiness. It's good. Fabio, Birth of a Sound Studio. Wow. Hello, Chad. What's your secret for mixing a voice and hear it perfectly through a mix with lots of guitar? For me, I'd say panning. You know, get the guitar out of the way of the voice. Put the vocal over on the left, or the guitar on the other side. I mean, that's a big tool for me to, for clearing stuff out. Panning, reductive EQ, meaning cut instead of additional EQ, boost, cut instead of boost. Yeah, but panning, that's very big time for me. So yeah, I'm not into mono. I don't care about mono. Unless I can go to stereo afterwards, I mean for effect, like dramatic effect. Pedro Del Felipe. Hi Chad, thank you so much for doing this. In the analog world, you say you used to apply quite a lot of bus compression, which resulted in creating movement in the mix. In the box, it looks like your mix bus chain is more about coloring and opening the spectrum than creating movement. Is it something you got bored with? Do you think this approach gives you more freedom? Do you sometimes lack the pumping effect you used to get from compression? If so, do you sometimes use sidechain compression techniques or groups of instruments to achieve the same kind of results? I don't ever use sidechain. I mean, I sometimes send things to open a gate or, yeah, never say never, don't always say always, usually say usually. I shouldn't say never on that sidechain. There's a few times I have done it, but it gets complicated to my brain. I've got a simple brain. I'm an old dog. Yeah, and then it goes on to say, like your mix bus chain. If you heard me say the bus compression, I was talking about like a drum bus or a separate guitar bus where I might have bussed something to another set of faders, compressed them, and done parallel compression to get the movement. But the mix bus was never about movement. So that's, I'm still doing the same on my individual buses, what I used to do on the desk. I'm doing it the same way, but it's of course different in Pro Tools. I don't want to treat it the same. It's different, it sounds different. I don't think it'll ever sound the same to me. I like both analog and digital. Yeah, no, I don't think I'm lacking any of that. It's different, and I sort of am embracing the differences. So whatever you're hearing between my new stuff and my old stuff, it's different. I don't want to do that old stuff anymore. I want to do what I'm doing now. I'm liking what I'm getting now. Oh, that's it. That looks like it. Well, that's good. Hey, thanks for the compliments and the questions. And I hope I was coherent enough for some of his answers to help. Hopefully see you sometime. Bye from La Fabrique.